Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a crisis that is literally playing out right outside our front doors. If you've stepped outside recently, you know exactly what we're talking about here. The punishing, relentless heat waves gripping the country right now in May 2026 are impossible to ignore. And look, this isn't just about feeling uncomfortable on your afternoon commute. It's a profound, urgent emergency. Let's really break down the reality of what's happening.
46.9 degrees Celsius. Just let that sink in for a second. That staggering temperature was recently recorded in Akola, Maharashtra. But we can't just look at this as a stark number on a weather app, right? The ground reality is genuinely heartbreaking. We're seeing census workers literally collapsing from the heat while simply trying to do their jobs. In another incredibly tragic instance, a man actually passed away from heat stroke on a bus while on the way to his own wedding. These are visceral, human reminders of what these extreme numbers actually mean for our communities. So the crucial point is that we've got to stop viewing these localized tragedies as just random, isolated weather events. This isn't merely a heat wave, it is our planet's fever. Think of it as a blaring alarm bell, trying to tell us that the underlying systems keeping our environment stable are under absolutely immense stress.
Part 1. What does the data say? The global reality.
According to the State of India's Environment 2026 report, we are officially sitting in the danger zone. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. To maintain a healthy, self-regulating environment, the safe limit for global forest cover is 75%. Yet our current global cover has dwindled down to just 59%. That missing 16% gap? That represents millions of square miles of lost forests, stripping away the planet's natural built-in ability to cool itself down and absorb carbon. And honestly, it gets even more concerning when we shift gears and look at biodiversity. Right now, we are witnessing a species extinction rate that is 10 times higher than the designated safe limit. 10 times. The incredibly delicate web of life that actually sustains our ecosystems is unraveling way, way faster than nature can ever hope to repair it.
To measure overall global stability, scientists use something called planetary boundaries. Essentially, 9 critical thresholds that act as the Earth's guardrails to keep it habitable. While alarmingly, we have currently breached 7 out of those 9 boundaries. With only 2 left in the safe column, this objectively shows that we have completely veered outside the safe operating space for humanity.
But what do those breached boundaries actually translate to? Well, for one, since the industrial era, ocean acidity has shot up by 30 to 40%. That poses an existential threat to the marine ecosystems that billions of people rely on for survival. On top of that, the data clearly states we are rapidly closing in on the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold. And that's not just a milestone. That's the critical line where the damage to our climate becomes completely irreversible. No going back. Part 2. The reality on the ground. 3 stories from the ground. Now, looking at global data is absolutely essential. But to truly grasp this crisis, we need to understand how this planetary fever alters the daily lives of average people. We're going to zoom in on 3 very diverse geographical areas across India: the agricultural heartlands of Vidarbha and Rajasthan, the bustling metropolitan centers of Chennai and Delhi, and the towering peaks of the Himalayas. This variety shows us just how widespread and varied the impact truly is. Our first reality check comes straight from rural India. Picture a deeply human, frankly devastating scene. A farmer in Rajasthan or Vidarbha standing over a field completely destroyed by erratic rainfall and blistering heat. He looks up and simply asks, "What do we do now?" His entire livelihood has been wiped out in a season. This right here is what it looks like when global planetary boundaries break down in real everyday life.
Shifting over to the urban crisis, the situation is equally dire, just in a different way. In major metropolitan areas like Chennai and Delhi, the everyday struggle for basic resources has literally become a daily battle. Residents are being forced to stand in hours-long queues, baking under the scorching sun, just to get a single bucket of water from a government tanker. India's water crisis is already at a breaking point, and these rising global temperatures are turning basic everyday survival into a massive hurdle.
Finally, let's zoom way out to the Himalayas. The glaciers in Uttarakhand and Himachal are melting at completely unprecedented rates. And you might be wondering, why does this matter to the rest of the country? Well, because these exact glaciers feed the Ganga River. This rapid melting threatens the water supply of 500 million people, whose lives, agriculture, and very existence depend on it. It is a massive, looming threat that we can't ignore. Okay, let's dive into this next part. Part 3. Government preparation, policy, and politics.
With these incredibly visceral ground realities staring us right in the face, how are institutions and governments actually responding? Well, in March 2026, India announced its new climate targets for the year 2035. The government officially pledged a 47% cut in emissions and aims for 60% of its energy to come from clean sources. So these are the objective numbers on paper meant to tackle the crisis head-on.
But, as you can imagine, this issue is heavily debated. On one side of the global scoreboard, we had the government's official targets, that 47% emission cut and 60% clean energy pledge. However, critics strongly argue that these targets are frankly insufficient given the sheer scale and speed of the emergency we just looked at on the ground. Ultimately, the real test is going to be weighing these political promises against the actual, real-world results over the next decade.
And to fully grasp these targets, we also have to pull back and look at the international context, which is pretty complicated. Global climate cooperation has been undeniably shaky. The U.S. previously backed out of commitments under the Trump administration, and China's approach has often been described as timid or overly cautious. Because of all this geopolitical shuffling, the entire world is watching India's next steps incredibly closely. Will India step up as a bold global leader to meet the challenge? Or are these just going to be numbers on a page?
Part 4. Hope and the Path Forward.
Understanding the absolute shock of the data is vital for sure, but we can't just stop there and throw our hands up. We need tangible solutions, and there is actually a ton of incredible, inspiring work happening right now. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that currently 52% of electricity in India is being generated from non-fossil fuel sources. Over half! This is a very real, significant achievement, proving that a massive energy transition isn't just some far-off pipe dream, it is actively happening right now.
And honestly, that transition is visible everywhere you look. Massive solar farms are expanding rapidly across Gujarat and Rajasthan, while hydropower capacity steadily grows up in Himachal Pradesh. But beyond just the infrastructure, there's this powerful, undeniable human element. Fierce youth activism and incredibly dedicated local NGOs are driving real change at the grassroots level, and resilient community farming initiatives are taking root all over the country. The planet's fever can absolutely be cured, but it's going to require all of us scaling up these tangible solutions together.
So we've looked at the sobering global data, the heartbreaking realities on the ground, and the massive, hopeful efforts to build a better future. But remember, this is an unfolding story, and every single one of us is a part of it. The climate crisis isn't just something happening out there, it's happening right where you live. So I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. What is the climate situation in your city right now? Are you seeing the intense heat waves, the water shortages, or perhaps you're seeing some amazing local solutions taking root? Think about it, and let's get a conversation going in the comments below. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.